All right, get comfortable. Maybe grab a snack, but nothing too expensive because after we get through this, you might want to start saving your pennies. We need to have a serious talk about money. And I don't mean your money specifically. I mean everyone's money. The country's money. The reason why your grocery bill suddenly looks like a mortgage payment. We are going to dive into the brain of Ray Dalio. Now, if you don't know who Ray Dalio is, imagine if Yoda started a hedge fund and made billions of dollars by predicting the future. That's Ray. He wrote this massive breakdown on why empires rise and fall, and specifically how countries go broke. And listen, the title sounds terrifying. Going broke. It sounds like the country is going to be standing on a freeway off-ramp with a cardboard sign asking for spare change. But Dalio's point is that this isn't random. It's a cycle. It's like gravity or the seasons or the fact that Leonardo DiCaprio will never date anyone over 25. It is a predictable law of nature. So, I've read the dense chart-filled pages so you don't have to. We are going to break down the mechanics of the apocalypse, but we're going to keep it chill. Here is how countries go bust, why it happens, and what you can actually do about it without moving to a bunker in Idaho. Let's start with the big picture. Lesson 1. The big cycle. Dalio says that history is just the same record playing over and over again. We like to think we're special. We think, oh, we have iPhones and AI and electric cars. Surely the old rules of economics don't apply to us. Dalio says, wrong. The rules always apply. He outlines a standard life cycle for an empire. It has 3 phases. Phase 1 is the rise. This is the hungry phase. Think of this like a Rocky montage. The country is poor but ambitious. People work hard, they save money, they educate their kids, and they don't have a lot of debt. It's like a young rapper handing out mixtapes in a parking lot. They are grinding. They are efficient. Because they're cheap to hire and work hard, they start making a lot of stuff and selling it to the rest of the world. They get rich. Phase 2 is the top. This is the flex phase. Now the country is rich. They are the top dog. Their currency is the one everyone uses. Because they're rich, they start getting a little lazy. They stop making things and start buying things. They outsource the hard work to other poorer countries because they'd rather work in finance or tech or be influencers. Think of this like a rock star who made it big. They stop touring in a van and start flying private jets. They hire a jagged entourage. They start spending more money than they actually make, but it doesn't matter because everyone trusts them. They have a platinum credit card. This is where the US has been for a while. We are ordering bottle service at the club, putting it on a tab, and assuming the party will never end. Then comes phase 3, the decline. This is the hangover phase. The debt gets too big. The country isn't productive anymore. The people have gotten soft, and suddenly a new, hungry country that looks a lot like the rapper from phase 1 starts challenging them. The old empire tries to borrow more money to maintain its lifestyle, but the math stops mathing. Eventually, the bubble bursts. So that's the overview. But how does the going broke part actually happen? That brings us to lesson 2, the drug of free money. This is the mechanism. Dalio explains that when a country gets into trouble, maybe there is a war or a pandemic or a financial crash, the government has a choice. They can either tell everyone, hey guys, we are broke, we need to spend less and suffer for a few years, or they can print money. Guess which one they choose? Every single time. Politicians are like a bad boyfriend who wants to avoid a fight. Telling the truth is hard. Printing money is easy. It makes everyone feel rich for a minute. Dalio calls this the debt cycle. Here's the analogy. Imagine you have a credit card with no limit. You buy a boat. You feel great. You look rich. Your neighbors are jealous. But you didn't actually earn the boat. You just promised to pay for it later. Eventually, the bill comes due. Now, in the real world, if you can't pay, the bank takes your boat and ruins your credit score. But if you're a country, you just print more money to pay the bill. It sounds like a cheat code, right? But here's the catch. When you print more money,
the money you already have becomes worth less. It's like watering down a fancy whiskey. If you have one shot of whiskey, it's valuable. If you pour a gallon of water into it, sure, you have a full glass now, but it tastes like garbage and it won't get you buzzed. That is inflation. Inflation isn't prices going up, it's your money going down. It's the government quietly taxing you without passing a law. Dalio points out that every empire in history, from the Romans to the British to the Dutch, eventually tried to print their way out of a problem, and it always ends the same way. The currency collapses. Lesson 3. The rich, the poor, and the pitchforks. This is where it gets social. Dalio found a direct correlation between financial problems and people hating each other. When the rise phase is happening, everyone is making money, so everyone gets along. It's like a pizza party where there's enough pizza for everyone. We're all friends. But when the decline hits, the pie starts shrinking. But here's the trick. It doesn't shrink for everyone at the same speed. The rich usually own assets, stocks, gold, real estate, commodities, things that go up when the dollar goes down. So the rich get richer on paper. The poor and the middle class, they don't own assets, they work for wages. And wages never go up as fast as the price of milk or gas, so they get poorer. This creates a massive wealth gap. Dalio compares this to a pressure cooker. You have a small group of people living like kings and a massive group of people who can't afford eggs. Eventually, the people who can't afford eggs stop being polite. This leads to what Dalio calls internal conflict. Populism rises. You get politicians on the far left saying, "Eat the rich," and politicians on the far right saying, "It's the foreigner's fault." The center collapses. Everyone starts screaming. Think of it like a family road trip. At the start, everyone is singing along to the radio, but after 6 hours, when you're lost, out of gas, and hungry, the kids are fighting in the backseat and mom and dad are screaming at each other about who missed the exit. That is the political state of a declining empire. The fighting isn't the cause of the problem. It's a symptom that the car is out of gas. Lesson 4. The new kid on the block. So, as if the internal fighting wasn't enough, Dalio introduces the external threat. While the old empire is busy fighting with itself and printing fake money, a rival power is usually rising. They're in that hungry phase we talked about. They're saving money, they're building factories, they're expanding their military. In Dalio's current analysis, this is obviously the dynamic between the US and China, but historically it happened with the Dutch and the British, and then the British and the Americans. The challenging power sees that the old power is weak. They sense blood in the water. They start challenging them on trade, on technology, on territory. This forces the old empire to spend even more money on the military to defend its spot. But remember, they're already broke. So what do? They print more money, which causes more inflation, which causes more internal fighting. It's a doom loop. It's like trying to win a boxing match while you have the flu and you're also arguing with your spouse on the phone between rounds. You're distracted, you're weak, and you're running out of energy. Lesson 5. The beautiful deleveraging versus the ugly crash. So, is it hopeless? Is the car definitely going off the cliff? Dalio says there is a way out, but it's really hard to pull off. He calls it a beautiful deleveraging. This is the economic equivalent of a very strict diet and exercise routine. A country has to do 4 things simultaneously to fix the mess. 1. Cut spending, austerity. This hurts because nobody likes losing their benefits. 2. Reduce debt, defaults. This hurts because people lose their savings. 3. Redistribute wealth, taxes. This hurts because the rich get angry. 4. Print money, stimulus. This hurts because of inflation. Dalio says if you do these 4 things in perfect balance, you can land the plane safely. You print just enough money to keep the wheels turning, but you tax and cut spending enough to fix the underlying problem. But usually countries mess it up. They lean too hard on number 4, printing money, because it's the only one that doesn't make people angry immediately. Imagine you have a hangover. The beautiful deleveraging is drinking water, eating a salad, and going for a jog. It sucks, but it works. The ugly crash is just drinking a Bloody Mary. It makes you feel better for an hour, but you're just delaying the pain. And tomorrow, the hangover will be twice as bad. Historically, most empires choose the Bloody Mary. Lesson 6. The role of technology and human ingenuity. Now, before you go sell all your possessions and move into a yurt, Dalio does offer a wild card: innovation. Sometimes a country is circling the drain, but then they invent something that changes the game: the steam engine, the internet, AI. If a country can become massively more productive because of technology, they can sometimes earn their way out of the hole. It's like if you were drowning in credit card debt, but then you suddenly wrote a hit song that made you $10 million. Problem solved. However, Dalio warns that technology is a double-edged sword. It can make the pie bigger, but it
Usually makes the wealth gap worse because the people who own the robots get rich, and the people who used to do the job the robot does get fired. So innovation can actually speed up the pitchforks phase if you aren't careful. Conclusion. So what do you do? Okay, we have covered a lot. Empires rise, they get rich and lazy, they borrow too much, they fight with each other, they print money, and eventually they reset. It's the circle of life, financial edition. So what is the takeaway for you, a normal person who just wants to pay rent and maybe retire one day? First, don't trust cash. Dalio is very clear on this. Cash is trash. If the government is printing money to save the system, the value of your savings account is melting like an ice cube in the sun. You need to own things that are real: stocks, real estate, gold, commodities, things that go up when the dollar goes down. Second, diversify. Don't bet everything on one country or one currency. He talks about being a citizen of the world. Now, you might not be able to buy an apartment in Singapore, but you can invest in international funds. Don't put all your eggs in one basket, especially if that basket is currently on fire. Third, be adaptable. The most important skill in a changing world order isn't knowing the future. It's being able to handle a surprise. The skills that got you here might not be the skills that get you there. If the economy shifts from a service economy to an AI economy, you need to shift too. And finally, don't panic. Knowing the cycle is a superpower. Most people are walking around blind. They see the price of eggs go up and they just get mad. You see the price of eggs go up and you understand it's part of a macroeconomic debt cycle that has been playing out for 500 years. It doesn't make the eggs cheaper, but at least you know you aren't crazy. Dalia's book is a reality check. It's a reminder that trees don't grow to the sky. We aren't guaranteed to be on top forever just because we have been for the last 70 years. But it's also a reminder that the world keeps turning. Empires fall, but people survive. The game changes, but the players keep playing. So keep your eyes open, watch out for the money printer, and maybe, just maybe, learn to grow a garden. Just in case. Thanks for listening.